Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
Long ago, there were segregationists who made a religious argument and said that they found somewhere in the Bible, for example, a justification for racial segregation in the South, and obviously that did not hold water. Now, this is perhaps a bit different. It deals with employees of the company.
All right, I know we played the same bite, folks, for Armstrong Williams, but I wanted to get it to Noah Rothman, our next guest associate editor of HotAir.com, who on HotAir.com has documented the out-of-control reaction by the media to the Hobby Lobby announcement. So I thought I'd throw that in. That was before the decision was announced. Noah, welcome aboard. And what do you think of that comparison of segregationists in the South to Hobby Lobby?
I would say that it's absolutely crazy, with the exception that it's so widely shared. It seems that there's like a real genuine belief among legal scholars and members of the press who cover this pretty significantly. Jonathan Turley over at George Washington University is a legal professor, and NPR's Nina Totenberg, both of them within the last couple of hours came out and essentially endorsed that position, said that this really opens up the doors to basically invalidate federal employment, equal opportunity employment laws. I'm not a lawyer. I don't necessarily see it. It seems like this is a really narrowly tailored decision based on what people who read SCOTUS decisions for a living have been saying. But there's now a really big, widespread belief that this is the single worst decision to come out of the Supreme Court in a real long time, and it's going to essentially, if not legalize discrimination, open up a whole lot of venues for people who want to discriminate to take this challenge to court. I frankly don't see it. But a lot of people who I believe to be slightly on the left of the political spectrum do. So who's to say?
Yeah, well, interesting. Jonathan Turley, who believes that the president is run roughshod over the Constitution, is conducting an imperial presidency. For him to come out on that side is curious. Not curious, but interesting. Totenberg and some of the others I might expect it of.
Well, Turley, if you remember, I'm sure you do, during the Bush years, he was a champion of the left. He was held up by everybody on the left because he was so explicit about the overreach of the Bush administration and how he was a real authoritative voice on that side of things. Because he's intellectually honest, he's fell down a couple of rungs on the spectrum of the left of veneration from the liberal blogosphere. But his personal leanings still tend in that direction.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'm not a lawyer either, obviously. You know what? This is a case that's a little off the beaten path, and I'm sure you're aware of it, obviously. But a Florida judge has thrown out George Zimmerman's libel suit against NBC, and it centers around the famous or infamous edit of the call to police. Where he reported seeing Trayvon Martin, and then was asked, what is he, black, white, Hispanic? And he said he's black. And NBC apparently edited that to make it sound like he said he's black without being asked about it, which Zimmerman claimed gave the impression, and I think he has a legitimate concern, that he was concerned about his race, and that's why he targeted him, and he makes him look racist. So I'm kind of surprised, again, as a non-lawyer, that was thrown out, and it gives carte blanche to a network like NBC to selectively edit something as important as that in a trial that everyone's watching.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had the opportunity to read the decision. It's been a pretty heavy news day. But that case, as you mentioned, was really significantly defamatory to the point where NBC let go of the producer, supposedly a local Florida producer who had produced that piece. Ran on Today, nationwide. It ran on MSNBC nationwide. There have been some people who had argued while this case was pending that because Zimmerman was not convicted of this crime, that he didn't have much standing to prove that his reputation had been damaged as a result of this broadcast. It seemed kind of flimsy to me, but again, I haven't read the decision. But if that's in there, that also wouldn't surprise me, because that was an argument that was being made at the time.
All right, the IRS. Let me ask you your opinion on, at this point, I mean, obviously the coverage that's been documented was non-existent until Paul Ryan and the IRS commissioner went at it. And then subsequently, the IRS commissioner went at it on a Monday night, I believe it was last Monday night or Tuesday night, with the House Oversight Committee members, and the arrogance that was displayed, the confrontations, the anger on the part of the congressman, the defense of the IRS commissioner by the Democrats reignited some media coverage. But do you think that that's short-lived, or do you think they're going to stick with this?
There was almost no media coverage in the wake of that night hearing. The day after, there was some blurbs about it on the broadcast networks in the morning, but there was nothing outside of the politics pages on Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post. I was searching for something because it was such a big event. The day after, when the United States archivist said that the IRS pretty explicitly, he was moved by pangs of conscience, presumably, to say, yeah, they didn't really follow the law in this case, and I expected, sure, there would be at least a little bit more coverage of that based on his admission. And it was also still really muted. I have a piece up in commentary this month chronicling how last year, how the press corps really went out of their way to convince themselves, after they came out and said, oh, this is crazy, this is Nixonian, this is the worst abuse of power we've seen in a generation, was convincing themselves, and it's this active circular sort of reinforcing of each other's narratives, that it wasn't really a big deal. And it still seems to have stuck, that they don't really believe this is a very big deal. And I actually have a piece up in Hot Air today that just centers on a conversation that had taken place on Morning Joe, in which they went back and forth and validated each other's beliefs that anybody who's pursuing this story is really on a politically motivated witch hunt, that there's just no linkage between anything that the IRS has done and the White House, and nobody's alleging that. And yet that seems to be the benchmark for at which point this needs to be taken seriously.
Right.
It's really just shocking how they've been able to devalue what's really obviously some real discrimination being going on at the IRS, because it doesn't reach the highest elements of power in the United States.
They changed the narrative, like they did with the lawsuit and the case against Obama, by saying, well, look at all the executive orders that Clinton and Bush. It's not about executive orders. It's not about recess appointments. It's about selective enforcement of the law, and I'm sure that's what the suit will talk about. I haven't seen it yet, but they changed the narrative to make it fit their agenda.
Right. Yeah, precisely. And there's this again, sort of self-reinforcing peer pressure that goes on in the press. The highest paid, most visible members of the commentary and reporting community sort of denigrate and look down on individuals who are reporting on or investigating stories that are inconvenient for the White House. Not even damaging, but inconvenient.
I know, that is scary. That is scary. Noah, appreciate it. Up against the clock here. Always great to talk to you. We'll check you out at hotair.com. Noah Rothman, associate editor over there. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, we're coming back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.